Jai. Hare Krishna. And you can rest up today if you want, whatever you want, no problem. Some devotees are in the kitchen, here and there. Good. Hare Krishna. Some are away at the moment, some brahmacharis going for a program. We wanted to sing a song, but I don't know if you have a song book.
Yes, we have many songs.
Many songbooks? Wow, that's a lot. That's like 2 each. Give them.
Which song?
Don't know yet. Here's go. Gangamata Goswamini. Appearance day today. And it will be a Baladev's disappearance. We're kind of like, well, what to say. Let's sing this one here. Where is it? Here it is. Well, Goswami, but Goswamini maybe also. Page 72. O Vaishnav Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where can anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience sends all sins far away? After bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, one becomes purified, but just by the sight of you, the fallen souls are purified. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who has committed an offense to Lord Hari. But if one commits an offense to you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda, and Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. I desire the dust of your holy feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottam yours and be kind upon him.
How does it start?
Vaishnave Vigyapti, page 72 on the songbook. Vaishnave Vigyapti. E Baro Karuna Koro.
E Baro Karuna. EI. Search in the index EI. E Baro. PAR. E Baro. 66.
Ai Baro Korona Koro Vaishnava Vasai Baro Korona Vaishnava Vasai He Baro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai Vaishnava Gosai Potito Pavana Thoma Bine Kirhona Patita Pavana Thoma Bine Kirhona Jaharum Ekate Gele Kapudure Jai Naharani Kate Kapudure Jai Emona Doyala Prabhu Keva Kotapai Himana Daya Paraparasha hoile Paschate pavam hoile Paschate pavam Dashanene pavitra koro eko maragan
Darshane pavitra koro eko maraguna
Horishanene pakarahye Tare Hari Naam
Harisane aparate Tare Hari Naam
Tomastane aparadhe Nahi pahita
Tumasane aparade nahi paritana
Tomar vidoye sada Govinda Vishram
Tumhare vidoye sada Govinda Vishrama
Govinda Gohena Mora Vaishnava Param
Govinda Kahena Mora Vishnava Parana
Patijan me kori asha Saranara duri
Janme gori asha Narane rajuri
Narotame korodaya panararvo
Narotame goro daya apanaraboli
He paro karunana koro Vaishnava kosai Patita pavana natoma vinete mona Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama,
Ramo Ramo
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Too fast. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shintai Sati Sutta ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Shri Radhaparasiswar ki jai, Shri Ganga Mata Goswamini Avirbhav Mahotsav ki jai, Shri Baladev Vidya Bhushan Tirubhav Mahotsav ki jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Grand glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Bidaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nivasesha Sanyavadi Pastasade Tarine. Okay. So, it's a very long purport. I won't read the Chaitanya Charitamrita today because everything is related, but it's, you could say, distantly related in one sense. A long description of various associates of the Lord, because today is the appearance and disappearance day of two of our Siksha Gurus in our line, two of our previous acharyas in our line, It's related because today's verse would have been a description of great personalities or associates of the Lord, different branches or sprouts from the main trunk of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission is tree of Sankirtan, but we'll not read that today. It is kind of like a long purport, slightly related, but not directly related to today's appearance and disappearance day. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Ananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadritam Padejana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha Bolo. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevach Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Gum Gaudavani Vachadine Nirvasesha Sunyavari Pastachade Chatarine. This morning we'll probably just hear about Sri Gangamata Goswami, and probably this afternoon we'll hear about Baladeva devotion. We want to hear as much, what little we've got isn't very much, but we want to hear what we've got at least. Maybe there's more. I don't have it available at the moment. So this is a biography, short it may be, but of Gangamata Goswamini. Generally we don't hear that term, Goswamini. Generally it's understood that those in female bodies do not accept, officially speaking, the position of Goswami or Goswamini. By practice they may do. Every devotee, male, female, grihastha, brahmachari, brahmachari, whatever they are, in the real sense of the term, should be a Goswami, or Goswamini if you want to put the female. Aspect. But normally that's only awarded, or that title is only given. I mean, some other, let's say, ways that people are called Goswami, some of the family name, whatever, but generally speaking it refers to those in the renounced order of life, which is traditionally, of course, in the latter part of one's life, a man, specifically a man, may accept what we call sannyas order of life, and may be called, if they've been married particularly, they're called Goswami. It's not, it has to be Swami or Goswami. Control of the senses. But any devotee who's actually engaged in their senses exclusively in the service of the Lord, particularly as a Vaishnava, is a Goswami, or Goswami, male, female, old, young, doesn't matter. But one is actually in the position of somebody whose senses are under control, because we're using them in Krishna's service exclusively. So it is unusual. There are maybe a few other examples of ladies, great devotees, who have achieved this or received this title and are acting on that platform of renunciation. It's a part of the Varnashram system. It doesn't necessitate the position of pure devotional service. Mayavadis may also be detached from this world. Their senses may be controlled and so on. But they're not devotees of Krishna. So there are different types of Goswamis. Here we're referring to the Vaishnavas, Goswamis. As we just, O Vaishnava Gosai, basically means like that. The Vaishnava Goswami, be merciful unto us. Sri Yuta, I'll read a little bit of a biography here. Sri Yuta Naresh Narayan was the king of Puntia, which was located in the district of Rajshahi, part of the present country of Bangladesh. His only daughter was named Sachi, and she was very devoted to God from her very childhood. In a very short time she became quite proficient in her studies, especially in grammar and poetry. As she grew up, everyone became stunned by her blossoming youthful beauty. However, Sachi was not attracted by any earthly, good-looking, well-to-do young man. She was only interested in Srimadan Gopal, means the deity. The king, Naresh Narayan, began to think about his daughter's marriage. When she came to know of this, she told her father that she would not marry anyone who was subjected to death. The king and queen put their hands to their heads and sat down. Their only daughter refused to marry. Thus, they passed on from this world, having no further work to do here. Of course, in our modern society or present day society, this type of situation is not particularly prominent, that the parents try to arrange their daughter's marriage. Maybe in India it's still going on, of course, a few other places, but not in the West. Very rare, isn't it? Rasika, what do you think? Parents arranging the daughter's marriage?
In the West?
Yes.
I guess so, yeah. Pretty rare.
Pretty rare. It might be a court case if they try to do that. The daughter might take their parents to court trying to manipulate them or something. You never know. Kali Yuga. But generally parents don't do that. They leave their daughter to shop, go shopping. Huh? Yeah.
Go shopping.
Yeah. Looking out. Yeah. Tradition, that's called prostitution. And when you see the word prostitute sometimes mentioned, we get the direct understanding of prostitute as a particular occupation, a woman who's like a profession, so to speak. But in a broader sense of the term, the word is referring to any girl who's basically looking around, looking for a man. It doesn't refer to necessarily just a profession. So sometimes you think, well, it's prostitutes. It's like, how they're describing them as prostitutes. But that was the Vedic system, more or less. And a girl had to be married. The Prabhupada said it, all girls should be married. All boys should stay single. We're not proposing here, what do they call this new liberation movement, LGBT, what is it called? LGBT. It's not what's being proposed there. Some people may misinterpret that. But in other words, the men should really be focused on spiritual life, because 99% will get married anyway. But encouraged to not necessarily get married, but most of them will by nature. But all women are supposed to get married in due course of time. There will be maybe a few exceptions, and here's one of them. Ganga Goswamini, Gangamata Goswamini, refused to marry. Very rare. They may refuse to marry the suggestion of the parents, but they still maybe don't get married, but they have relationships with men. Nowadays they don't bother with marriage so much, but they still go ahead and have children or something. They have relationships with men. But traditionally the child, the girl, the daughter, and I suppose the same feature is here, it doesn't specify the date, but that normally a girl, a child, married when they're a child, not when they're 40 years of age. Many times the ladies, girl, not a girl anymore, they get married after they've settled their career, so they can easily dump their husband if they don't want to stay with him, because they've already got their own independence. Career girls, degrees, PhDs, politicians, even in the army, fighting in the army, generals, surgeons, pilots, all kinds of things, prime ministers or presidents. They take a different age where there's what they call equal rights. But in Vedic time, there were equal rights, but it was based upon spiritual, it was based on the spiritual factor, not the mundane one. Now we try to make it on the mundane platform, but there's no actual equality between any two people, or to speak of male, female. And there's no unity either. But the Vedic terminology, if you want to use that word, whatever you want to call it, but a society which is God-centered acts in a way which is according to the will of the Lord, according to His arrangement. So in a God-centered society, when you see Ishvasham idam sarvam yakincha jagacham jagatena kaktena vandita magudakashasvinam, that it's God-centered, Ishvasham. Everything is done according to the will of God, as we heard yesterday, maybe, I don't know. Everything is done according to His will. So the whole society is designed. We're not here to fulfill our own will, we're here to fulfill God's will. The Varnashram system is related to that, of course. It's given by the Lord so we can develop this understanding. And, the positions of the male, the female, according to their natures, are all guided and discussed and described. What is favorable? Well, favorable for what? Favorable to fulfilling one's own material desires to a certain extent, yes. But the primary purpose is to please Krishna, or to act for Krishna's pleasure. So a female has a part to play, a male has a part to play. According to your Varna, you have a part to play. According to your ashram, you have a part to play. And one's supposed to play. Religiosity means playing one's part, basically speaking. That's what it means. To cooperate with God. So in the conditional state, it means to play one's part according to the God-given system, and not try to imitate others. But unfortunately, whatever it is, in Kali Yuga people imitate. Male, female, everyone thinks they're the enjoyer. We're trying to imitate Krishna. But we're not the enjoyer. Well, in sense, in relation with Krishna, you may experience the highest enjoyment, but it's not independent. Everything's dependent on Krishna. Devotees dependent on Krishna. And thus, Krishna's happiness, naturally a devotee will feel happy about Krishna being happy. So it's a different paradigm. A girl will be married before she reaches puberty. Not when she's 40 years old and she makes her own choice. But before puberty. This would be considered to be child abuse in our modern society. Different age that we're living. We're not arguing that point, but we're just describing the common situation India, many Asian countries, not just India. In the West, it was also, to a large degree, 1 or 2 generations back, that the parents would particularly be involved in the daughter's marriage, particularly. Changed a lot over the last 100 years, you could say. But the principle is different, because the principle of traditional society, God-centered society, is to the human life is not meant for sense gratification. It's meant for it's meant for spiritual inquiry. It's not meant for material sense enjoyment, unlike our modern situation where, basically speaking, the driving force behind what goes on is sense gratification. And the traditional, I'm using the term Vedic, although it may not be an appropriate term, just so we get a kind of like a comparison. The Vedic society, the purpose of human life was God realization, not sense gratification. It was to please Krishna's senses. So a woman playing her part, raising children, they should have many children, is according to the, generally speaking at least, according to the tenets of Guru, Shastra and Sadhu. Scriptures particularly give guidance on these things. So a woman taking sannyas is also based, anyone taking sannyas in Kali Yuga is, Vedically speaking, or Varnashram system, prohibited. The only reason that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers have adopted the sannyas is for preaching Krishna consciousness. Not the only reason, but the explainable reason is because of preaching Krishna consciousness. It's not a sannyas according to normal karma kandya or even jnana kandya standards. It's according to the effectivity and necessity to spread Krishna consciousness widely. And the order of sannyas Prabhupada gave was for that purpose, basically. To create preachers who will go everywhere and preach, not encumbered by family life, etc. So we'll read on. So she refused to get married. And the parents passed on. This was too much for them. So the responsibility for governing the people now fell on Sachi. For some days she attended to her duties, and then, after appointing her representative, she set out to visit the holy places of pilgrimage. But she didn't feel satisfied within herself anywhere. Thus she began to search out a guru. She eventually came to Jagannath Puri, and after having darshan of Lord Jagannath for a few days, she set out for Sri Braj Dham. It was here that the benediction moon of her good fortune rose, seeing the spiritual prowess and renunciation of Sri Haridas Pandit Goswami, who was a staunch follower of Sri Nitai Gaura. She became very happy within herself and thought, after so many days I finally found shelter. After falling at his lotus feet and offering her obeisances, with folded hands, she prayed for his mercy. Anantacharya was the disciple of Sri Gadadhar Pandit Goswami. He was extremely munificent in distributing love of Krishna. Who can describe his glories? His very dear disciple was Pandit Haridas. Sri Haridas Pandit Goswami, in order to test Sachi, told her it wouldn't be possible for the daughter of a king to practice renunciation that she required in order to serve the Lord in Braj. Sachi, however, could understand that this was simply a pretense. Thus she began her service in total indifference to the material world. Gradually she completely gave up wearing any ornaments or fine cloth. One day Sri Haridas told her, if you can give up shyness, pride and fear and beg from door to door, then you'll be qualified to receive my mercy. Hearing this, Sachi became very happy, and covering her body with one soiled cloth, she went from door to door to the residence of Braj to beg something to eat. Her body became very thin and pale, but the Brajbasis could understand she was not an ordinary woman because of her bodily effulgence. The Vaishnavas were astonished by her great austerities. Though she became quite thin, she took no notice of that. and continued to regularly bathe in the Yamuna, clean the temple of the Lord, go on parikrama, attend the arti ceremonies, and hear discussions about Krishna. Seeing her intense renunciation, Haridas became eager to reward her. He called her and told her, "Though you are the daughter of a king, the exertion with which you have worshipped Sri Krishna and the degree of renunciation you have shown will please me very much. Now be pleased to accept the divine mantra." Didn't say what that divine mantra was. Thereafter, on the 13th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Chaitra, Sri Sachi was initiated in Radha Krishna mantra by Sri Haridas Pandit Goswami. Having received the 18-syllable mantra, 16, isn't it? It's 18 mantra. Sachi became completely imbued with love of Krishna. Though she was very destitute, she began to serve Sri Guru and Govinda with intense devotion. Just give me 1 second here. Have I got those notes open or not? Might be a clue to this. There it is. What's this? Manasiksha. Yes, 18-syllable mantra. I don't know. It's part of the Gayatri mantra. It's called the Paraka mantra. Generally, mantras are called Taraka Brahma mantra, which delivers one from the material world, removes the anarthas from one's heart, and delivers one, liberate the soul. The Paraka Brahma mantra, which is this particular mantra bestowed upon Ganga Mata, the Paraka Brahma mantra is the Gopa mantra in the Gayatri, which some of you may have. You have that mantra. You receive that mantra. This is the Paraka Brahma mantra. This is the mantra which bestows the loving spiritual abode and fulfills all spiritual desires. It's not of this world, as the Mahamantra is also not of this world. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. How many words in the Hare Krishna? How many syllables? 32, isn't it? 32 syllable mantra. The 18 syllable mantra, Gopal mantra from the Gayatri, appears to be the mantra which was bestowed upon Ganga Mata Goswami by Haridas Pandit Goswami, generally known as the 18 syllable mantra. Thereafter, on the 13th day of the bright fortnight of the month of Chaitra, when is that? What time of the year is that? Someone can look it up if you know how to use a calendar. Sri Sachi was initiated in Radha Krishna mantra by Haridas Pandit Goswami. Having received the 18-syllable mantra, Sachi became completely imbued with love of Krishna. Though she was very destitute, she began to serve Sri Guru and Govinda with intense devotion. Every day she would listen to her Guru explain the Shastras. Within a short time she became quite conversant in the literature of the Goswamis, and this was very pleasing to everyone. Around this time, one other lady disciple of Haridas named Lakshmi Priya, who had a very pleasant demeanour, came to Vrindavan. Lakshmi Priya used to chant 3 lakhs of holy names every day. Haridas instructed her to take Sachi with her to Radhakund and worship the Lord there. Thus the two of them came there and began to circumambulate Govardhan Hill every day. All at once Sri Haridas Pandit called Sachi back. and instructed her. I don't know, it's not very properly, we're all at once, I think that means. I don't know if that's quite correct. Anyway, he called her back to Vrindavan and told her to go to Puri to preach the message of Lord Gaurasundar to the pious people there. Go to Paris and preach to the pious people in Paris. I don't know if you'll have much to do. I don't think you'll have much to do if you have to only preach to the pious people in Paris, will you? Are there many pious people in Paris? Depends how you look at it, doesn't it? I mean, to a certain degree, yes, many religious people are here, and persons who, from the material perspective, are considered to be philanthropistic. They're trying to do good work. So, but from the absolute point of view, where is anyone following genuine religious principles? Very rare. So then, in accordance with the order of her Guru, Sachi came there and took up residence in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. As no one had lived there for so many days, the place was very run down. Only the Damodar Shila that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya used to worship was remaining there. Again, you see, after a great devotee leaves, and oftentimes they leave their legacy, but there's not necessarily a follow-on. His house had become dilapidated, the deities had gone somewhere else except for the Damodar Shila. It's a bit renovated now, but I mean, for a long time it was also even recently dilapidated. Been built up now. Sachi resumed the regular worship of the Lord and recited the Srimad Bhagavatam daily. Many people were very impressed to hear her conclusive explanation of the Shastra, and thus they used to congregate there. Sachi's fame as an accomplished lecturer on the Shastras began to spread far and wide. One day the king, Mukundadev, came to hear her class. He was very pleased to hear such authoritative conclusions coming from the mouth of this saintly Mataji. So in his mind he wished to present something to her. That very night he had a dream in which Lord Jagannath told him, "You should offer the place known as Shweta Ganga to Sachi Devi." Early the next morning the king came to see her, and Sachi very meekly offered him a seat, and inquired as to the purpose of his visit. The king thus related to her the order of Lord Jagannath and requested her to accept a piece of land adjacent to Shweta Ganga. Sachi, however, was not interested in acquiring property. She declined. Page just jumped back. King thus related the order. Sachi Devi, however, was not interested. She declined the offer, but the king insisted she accept this royal grant of land, and finally she agreed after considering it was, after all, the order of Lord Jagannath. Most pleased he could render her some service, the king presented her with the deed of the parcel of land. You need a king like that here in France, who would grant you some land, give you the deed. That's required. A nice temple, beautiful temple also, nice land. We have also got, but even nicer for the service of Shri Radha Parasishwara. After the royal grant of land became known to the public, gossip that Sachi was previously the daughter of a king began to circulate around Puri. Once, shortly before Mahavaruni, a day very auspicious for bathing in the Ganga, Sachi thought to herself how very much she would like to leave Puri and make a pilgrimage to the Ganga for this occasion. But after considering that it was her Guru's order to remain in Sri Kshetra, she decided to abandon the idea. But that night Lord Jagannath spoke to her in a dream. "Sachi, don't worry. On the day of Mahavaruni, you should bathe in the Shweta Ganga. Ganga Devi herself will personally come to join you there." Having seen this dream, Sachi was very jubilant. We don't get dreams like this, I'm afraid. When the day of the Varuni bath arrived in the middle of the night, Sachi went to the Shweta-Ganga alone. As she entered into the water, a strong current suddenly gripped her and carried her inside the Jagannath Mandir, which was now flooded, much to her amazement, by the sacred waters of the Ganges. There she saw thousands and thousands of the residents of Sri Kshetra taking their baths. A great uproar resounded in all directions from the recitation of prayers and hymns. In the midst of these festivities, Sachi very religiously performed the Varuni bath in the water of the Ganga. Hearing the sound of what seemed to be a large crowd of people within the temple, the watchman outside hurried to the temple superintendent, who in turn informed the king. The king ordered them to enter the temple to investigate. It's the middle of the night. It's all locked up. To the astonishment of everyone, they found Sri Sachi Devi, the reciter of the Bhagavatam, standing there alone. The priests of the temple surmised that she must have smuggled herself into the building in order to steal the ornaments of Lord Jagannath. But others present felt it was impossible for her to have done this. There must be some mystery behind it all, they said. So it was decided to confine her for trial and judgment. Sachi Devi did not mind and very blissfully continued to chant the holy name. Meanwhile, the king had a dream in which Lord Jagannath very angrily told him, "You should immediately release Sachi. I personally caused the Ganga to flow from my own foot. It was this that brought her into the temple so that she could take bath on this auspicious day. If you are concerned for the welfare of your subjects and your own good fortune, then along with the temple priests you had better go and beg forgiveness at her feet and request to become her disciples." After seeing this dream, the king awoke in a very worried state. He quickly completed his morning bath and immediately called for the priests. They went to the place of Sachi's confinement. The king opened the door and fell down at her lotus feet to offer his obeisances. He humbly begged her forgiveness and submitted Lord Jagannath's instruction that he become her disciple. Seeing the wonderful behavior of the king, she placed her hand on his head that he might be benedicted. On the next auspicious day, she initiated the king with Radha Krishna mantra. Many of the priests also accepted the shelter of her lotus feet at this time. From that day, she became known as Sri Gangamata Goswamini. The king wanted to donate some land to Sri Gangamata as Guru Dakshin, but she declined, saying that she only wanted the king should attain loving devotion to Lord Krishna's lotus feet. "I am not qualified to accept anything more than this," she told him. But the king repeatedly entreated her to accept something from him as Guru Dakshina. Finally, for the purpose of serving the Vaishnavas, she agreed. Thereafter, daily, 2 pots of Mahaprasadam, 1 pot of vegetables, 1 remnant of Lord Jagannath's cloth, and 160 kauris, small conch shells, were sent to the ashram each day. That service is still observed to this day. The articles are offered first to her samadhi. On one occasion, a pandit of the name Mahidar Sarma came to the banks of Shweta-Ganga to offer oblations to his forefathers. He happened to hear of the wonderful qualities of Sri Gangamata, and thus was inspired to have darshan of her lotus feet. He approached her, and in turn Gangamata very respectfully received him, offered him a seat, and inquired as to the purpose of his visit. This Brahmana, though a pandit, was a very simple and straightforward man. So he honestly stated that he'd come to have her darshan and to receive spiritual knowledge from her. She was very pleased with his simplicity and mercifully began to speak the philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavatam to him. The Panditji listened very intently to her wonderful elucidation and thereafter accepted shelter at her lotus feet. On an auspicious day she initiated him with Radha Krishna mantra. Mahindara Sharma's birthplace was Dhananjaypur. On the order of Sri Gangamata, he preached the glories of Sri Nitai Gaur at various localities in the district of Ganjam. In the town of Jaipur, within Rajasthan, lived one devotee and religious-minded Brahmin of the name Sri Chandra Sharma. In his house was a deity of Krishna called Sri Rasika Rai. The Brahmin, however, was very poor and thus could not offer foodstuffs properly to the deity. One night Lord Jagannath appeared to the Brahmin in a dream and told him, The service of Sri Rasika Rai, who is present in your house, is not being conducted properly. You should straightway bring him here to Sri Kshetra and deliver him to Sri Ganga Mata, who resides on the banks of Shweta Ganga. Otherwise some misfortune will befall you. Having received this order from Lord Jagannath, the Brahmin didn't delay, but immediately set out for Sri Kshetra. Arriving there, he inquired as to the whereabouts of Sri Ganga Mata, and thus presented himself before her. Seeing the deity of Sri Krishna, Ganga Mata became very happy. But when the Brahmin explained to her the reason why he had come, she replied, "But I am a simple beggar. I eat by begging at a few houses each day. How will I be able to serve this deity? You had better take your deity with you. Please don't make me an offender." The Brahmin didn't know what to do. He thought deeply about it and finally saw no other recourse for him than to place the deity of Sri Rasika Rai in the Tulsi garden of Sri Ganga Mata and flee away. This is a transcendental pastime. But sometimes Indian people, they do this. They're not always so transcendental. They just leave a deity somewhere in a temple. They just donate the deity. They don't worship the deity anymore. And sometimes they leave a deity of Ganesh or a deity of Hanuman or a deity of Kartikeya or Lord Shiva or Amma or somebody else. Huh? And sometimes Sita Ram, Lakshman Hanuman, Lakshmi Narayan, sometimes Radha Krishna. They don't leave Gaur Nitai usually. They leave different deities. The Brahmin didn't know, so he left the deity in the Tulsi garden and ran away. Sri Rasika Rai appeared that night in a dream to Ganga Mata and informed her, "I have come here to accept your service. The Brahmin put me in your Tulsi garden and then left this place. I haven't eaten anything for a whole day. Please feed me." Sri Ganga Mata was struck with wonder. The Supreme Lord himself is asking me to feed him? Meditating on this, she became filled with ecstatic love. The hairs on her body stood on end. She quickly took bath and entered into the Tulsi garden. There she saw Sri Rasika Rai shining in his own effulgence. With her eyes full of tears, she fell down and offered her prostrated obeisances. "Here he is," she thought joyfully, "still hungry." She picked him up and carried him into her room, feeling very doubtful as to what she should do. Finally she bathed him and made a simple offering of foodstuffs. Sri Rasika Rai immediately ate everything. Ganga Mata was floating in an ocean of happiness. She spread out a new piece of cloth and laid him down to rest. In the morning, when the devotees came to Ganga Mata's house, they were astonished to see Sri Rasika Rai. When they heard the details of what had happened, they all cheered and chanted, "Hari! Hari!
Hari Hari."
Every day, Sri Ganga Mata would lovingly prepare many varieties of vegetables and cakes to offer Sri Rasika Rai. She would spend at least 12 hours every day serving her deity. 12 hours a day, amongst other things. For some days she served Sri Rasika Rai by begging at people's houses, but as she got on in years, this became somewhat difficult for her. Noting this, Sri Rasika Rai, by some trick or other, would collect the necessary ingredients and paraphernalia from some rich merchants. Don't expect that will happen here. This is on a very transcendental platform. We may not be on that platform. We're lazy about even collecting it, from persons with money who are followers sometimes. And here, the Lord himself, when she was getting old and she was having difficulty going out begging, the Lord himself made arrangements. But when Ganga Mata saw there were many deficiencies in the worship due to her advanced age, she went before Sri Rasika Rai to pray for his forgiveness and informed them that she was unable to serve him nicely now. For this reason she didn't want to remain alive any longer. Sri Rasika Rai told her in a dream, "I am very pleased with your service. You should not lament. For a few more days you should continue to serve me." Some days passed, but again she told him that she didn't want to remain any longer. When we see sometimes that some more days, it doesn't literally mean, 3, 4, 5 days. Means, in Old English, it means after some time. It's not like measurable factor. Her only request that she might leave this world while chanting his holy name, Sri Rasika Rai replied, "All right, don't worry anymore. After handing over my service to one of your qualified disciples, you should come join me in my eternal abode." Thereafter she entrusted the worship of Sri Rasika Rai to one very peaceful and self-controlled disciple of hers called Vanamali Das. At the age of 120 years in the Christian year of 1721, on the 11th day of the bright fortnight of the month of Ashwin, Sri Gangamata Goswamini, while seeing the graceful threefold bending form of Sri Rasika Rai and meditating upon his lotus feet, entered in to his eternal pastimes. Her appearance was in the Christian year 1601. The deity of Sri Rasika Rai is still present in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, next to the Shweta Ganga. Jai Prabhupada. Jai Gangamata Goswamini ki Jai. Hare Krishna. And this evening we'll hear, if Krishna allows, we'll hear something about Baladeva Vibhushana. Hare Krishna.
This evening?
Yeah,
Okay.
during the evening program. It's very relevant. Very relevant. Who does Prabhupada dedicate his Bhagavad Gita to? Who does he dedicate it to? Baladeva Vibhushana. In our line of parampara, his contribution is very, very, very significant. You don't necessarily, you don't think about it, you don't perhaps even think about it at all in your life, but it's very significant. So maybe we'll hear something about him this evening. Take it from there. I don't know if you have that commentary here. Is commentary on Bhagavad Gita? You don't have it at home?
I have at home.
Oh. You can bring this
It's called
evening.
Sara Darshan? What is it called?
I can't remember what it's called, but there's two commentaries, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary and Baladeva Vibhushana. I mean, there's many more commentaries, but they both make commentaries, although they were like guru disciple almost. But they both make commentaries. So if anyone has one, bring it. Or give it to me during the day. I have it in New Mayapur, but I don't have it here. It's not in the library. I couldn't see it anymore. Srila Prabhupada based a lot of his commentaries on the commentaries of Baladeva Vibhushana and Vishwanath Chakravarti, of course. He studied not only their commentaries, other commentaries of other acharyas too. So they're probably, maybe the two most prominent that we hear about anyway, commentaries prior to Srila Prabhupada on the Bhagavad Gita. Jai Shri Baladeva Vibhushana ki Jai. Shri Gangamata Goswamini ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Jai. So if you haven't